Okay, this is a little additional explanation of problem 11-14 for spring of 19. This is question number 8. So this is a company and they produce chemical compounds, and one of their compounds is called Fludux. Who knows how they come up with this stuff? Anyway, they have given you a standard cost card. This is very typical of chapter 11, how they'll say this is what should be used, this is how much it should cost, this is how much variable manufacturing overhead we should have. That's a predetermined overhead rate, by the way, in case you remember that from chapter 3. Okay, then followed up by some actuals. This is the actuals over here. And now it says compute the price and the quantity variance. Now, remember from the other explanation, in case you happen to read that, this is the standard model. So we take the AQ times the AP, we subtract that from the AQ times the SP, we come up with a price variance. In other words, I'm going to take the actual quantity that I used and I'm just going to say, well, how much did I really pay for it and how much should I have paid for it? Boom, there's my price variance. All right, for the quantity variance, I'm going to take the actual quantity at the standard price, multiply that times the standard quantity, and that's where things get a little tricky. Do you see that little green asterisk over here? I just added that. How much material should have been used given the fact that I had an actual output of X? So they've given me the standard of how much material I should be using, then I just multiply that times however many I produced, and there is my standard quantity. So going back over here, they've even told me how much standard quantity I should have or how many hours I should have worked, that kind of thing, followed up by the actuals. Okay, so then guess what happens next? Yep, you got it. We're going to put it into an Excel spreadsheet just because it's easier to understand. So this is exactly the same information. Here are my actuals right here, and it says compute the price and the quantity variance. So I am going to build my little happy thing just like I did before. I'm just going to copy that over, and here we go. Okay, so how much actual quantity? Well, they told me they purchased 12,000 ounces at a cost of $225,000. Now, all right, here's the little bit of the trick. When we I'm going to have to move that down a little bit further. When we calculate the price variance, which is this area over here, right, I'll even like kind of highlight that for you. We are going to use the amount purchased. Okay, so this part right here is based on purchased amount. All right, then we're going to come up with a different variance for quantity, and we're going to use the second half of the equation. And in this case, we're not going to do it on, let me take that, sorry, just kidding, just hold on a second. Let's move that back up here, so we'll copy that. Okay, good. And then when we come up with the quantity variance, which is this part right here, let's highlight that differently, okay? That is based on the amount used, okay? Not the purchased amount, but the used amount. Got that? All right. So over here, it says the materials they purchased were 12,000 pounds. Let's go ahead and plop that in there. And they tell me it was a cost of $225,000. Okay, so 225, boink, boink, boink. If I really wanted to know what that was on a per basis, could I do that? Absolutely. I could take the total amount that I paid, divide that by how much I purchased, and apparently I paid $18.75 per ounce for the direct materials. So here's my actual quantity. What is the standard price that I should pay for my direct materials? It is $20. Do you see that right up here? $20. So I'm going to pop that $20 right in here. Then how much should I have paid using the standard price? I would take the amount that I purchased times my standard price, and there you have it. These are dollars, so let's go ahead and put those in dollars. All right, so I should have paid $240,000. I actually paid $225,000. Did I do good? I think I did good. And the variance is $15,000, and because I paid less than what I should have, we'll call this a favorable balance. All right, so then, see, I told you I'd need more room. Let's go ahead and, oops, move that down over here. All right. Yes, fine. All right, so now I'm going to base my quantity variance on the amount used. So let's keep reading. It says there was no beginning inventory. However, at the end of the month, 25,000 ounces remained in my ending inventory. What does that mean? That means I purchased more than I used. So how much did I use? Well, I purchased 12,000. And how much do I have left in my ending inventory? 2,500. So let's go ahead and take that out. So that means I must have used 9,500 pounds. All right. The standard price was that $20, right? There's the standard price. So let's go ahead and put that in there. All right. Now, how do I figure out my standard quantity? If you were listening to my other video, you would now know that we're going to figure out, okay, blah, 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 the employees, da, 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 da. Okay, look at that. During November, 3,750 units were produced. So now I'm going to say, okay, 3,750. All right, that's how much was actually produced. So the standard quantity says, I'll take you back over here, how much material should have been used at the given actual output, meaning my actual output was 3,750. How much material should I have used? Well, let's go back to my standards card here. I should have used 2.5 ounces for every unit that I produced. So that's my standard quantity. And then the standard price was still that $20, so I'm just going to bring that over. And now it's just multiplication times this multiplied by this. And now, check this out. So this is my shoulda pile right here. All right, so let's put these in dollars because those are dollars. Okay, so I should have spent $187,500, but I actually spent $190. Okay, so now I'm just going to take that, subtract it, and I have a $2,500 unfavorable variance. How do I know that's unfavorable? Okay, this is my little kind of my shortcut. You can think about it any way you want, but I look over here and I go, well, that's what I shoulda spent. Boom. And that is what I actually spent. So the shouldas is what gives it away, right? So that's my standard, and that is my actual. Do you see that? So my standard said I should have used 93.75. I actually used 95. So there's this is now my quantity variance. Here's the second part of this problem, 11-14, the basic variance analysis. So we've already taken care of the variances for direct material, and now we're going to move on and do the rate and efficiency variances right here. So I am going to take my Excel spreadsheet. This is the same information from the problem, and now we're going to go right down here to the rate and efficiency variance. So you can see I've already got the setup right here, and I like that because then I know where to plug my numbers in. So it is asking me for the actual hours. That's the first thing that I'm going to find. So back in the problem, it says that there were 35 lab techs and they worked an average of 160 hours at $12 an hour. So their actual hours would simply be the 160 times those 35 techs. And there are the actual hours. They've told me the actual rate. Remember, they worked an average of So do you see how that's like a statement, right? So they did this, so that means that those are the actuals. All right, so then actual hours comes right here. Well, sometimes I like to make Excel do my heavy lifting. And what's the standard rate? So now I'm going to go back up to my standard card, and it says my direct labor should be $12.50 an hour. Okay, so I'm going to just plug in $12.50, then I'm going to do some multiplication over here. And I'm going to do some multiplication over here, and I'm going to come up with a variance. So the amount that I should have spent on that would be that, and then what I actually spent was that. So I now have a favorable variance. Now, how do I know that that's favorable? Because again, see that S that stands for shoulda or standard, right? So I should have paid $12.50 an hour. I actually only paid, I'm going to actually make these dollar signs so that you can really tell, right? Could I have done another formula? Yes, I could have, and the formula would have looked like this, AH and then it would have taken the actual rate and subtracted the standard rate. That would have given me 5,600, and then my actual rate that I paid was 12, and what I should have paid was 12.50. Oops. Okay, would that have given me the same answer? Yes, it would have. Okay, so if you prefer to use that formula, that is fine. Okay, I'll keep working on this formula right here. Now, for my standard hours, how do I figure out that? So here I'm going to go back, and what I always need to do when I come to kind of this box, which is a little bit tricky, is I have to go and find out how many units I've actually manufactured or work, you know, whatever the problem is calling for. So anyway, I made 3,750 units. So since I'm computing the labor rate variance, now I'm going to come back up to my standard and say for every unit that I made, the standard quantity was 1.4 hours. So now I'm just going to take that point, well, I should probably do a multiplication here, times 0.140, and that was the standard hours that I should have worked given the fact that I produced 3,750 goods. Okay, and then the standard rate, which was this, just simply comes back over here. That doesn't change. Now I'm going to do some more multiplication, and that's there, I guess. I could have taken it over here, but anyway. All right, so all right, and now what I'm going to do is a variance. So this was the standard, and this was closer to the actual, and now I have an unfavorable variance in this case. All right, and here is the last part, the third question from problem 11-14, and it's going to ask us to compute the variable overhead and the overhead efficiency variances. So returning to my handy dandy spreadsheet, here is the third question, and if you look up here and you read through the actuals, which is this section right here, do you see how it says variable manufacturing overhead? And I need to expand that a little bit, and they told me that the variable manufacturing overhead during the month totaled $18,200. So that is our bingo number right there. So I can just plop that number in there, and then the next thing I need to find, actually I'm going to put that one cell up. All right, the next thing I'm going to do is find out my actual hours. Now, what did they tell us? They actually said that the variable manufacturing overhead, you see here, it's assigned based on the direct labor hours. So we were already given the, well, we actually calculated the direct labor hours right over here. So those are the hours we're going to use. So we'll go ahead and just use those same direct labor hours. Okay, actually I think this was better down here. Sorry about that. Okay, all right, so what's the standard rate for our variable manufacturing overhead? They gave that to us. It's $3.50. How did they figure that out? They went to chapter 3, did the predetermined overhead rate. All right, here we go. Multiply that times that. We come up with that. All right, same situation happens with the standard hours over here. Again, how many units did I manufacture? Those 3,750. How much should I have used? Because my variable manufacturing overhead is based on my direct labor hours, those two numbers are the same. So I'm just going to take that and multiply it out. Do you see how that is the same? Because I figured out my labor variance over here, that standard hours is going to be the same because my overhead is based on my labor hours. Okay, so what's the standard rate for my variable manufacturing overhead? It was $3.50, which is the same thing that I had over here, $3.50. Now I'm going to do some multiplication. All right, so the rate variance is the difference between this and this, right? So I should have done this. I actually did that. So I have a favorable variance there. And under here, I should have done this. And I actually did this. So I have an unfavorable, this is unfavorable, efficiency variance. That's my efficiency variance, the difference between here and here. Whereas this is my price or my rate variance, the difference between here and here. Why do I know that? Because there I use my actual rate, here I use my standard rate. So I'm comparing the difference between actual and standard. All right, that's how I come up with this variance right here. But on the other hand, the difference between, so now I'm freezing the standard rate, so I'm no longer comparing a rate. Now I'm looking at the actual hours or the quantity, or in this case, the efficiency. Okay, and that's how I come up with an unfavorable variance there. Okay, I hope that helps.